Hey, if you guys live in Minnesota, or excuse me, if you live in Massachusetts, you might want to pay a little more attention to what's going on around you while you out on the road driving and not be distracted by cell phones and text messaging like some people do. They drive and they on their cell phone and they be trying to text message and respond to text messages and back and forth while you driving, but you might want to be a little more cautious and a little more aware and make sure you are paying attention to your surroundings on the road because 4 workers were fired after thousands of Massachusetts drivers got licenses without road tests. And this is coming from the Hill. And it says that 4 employees for the Massachusetts Registry of Motor Vehicles, RMV, were fired this week after it was discovered that nearly 2,100 drivers were giving licenses without taking road tests. And sometimes I wonder about that here where I reside in the state I live in. Are they actually taking road tests? Because some of the way these people, matter of fact, many of the way these people drive are horrible and horrendous. And I wonder sometimes where did they get their license from? We don't have Kmart anymore to blame it on Kmart. We don't have Sears to blame it on anymore. We don't have Montgomery Ward to blame it on anymore. We don't have those stores to blame it on anymore because a lot of times we used to go, did they get their license from Kmart? Maybe Walmart. Did they get their license from Walmart? We do have a lot of Walmarts out here. So I'm wondering where they get their license from because I'm looking at this and I'm thinking, so they were giving a driver's test, but not the road test. No wonder we have a lot of accidents and a lot of people driving erratic. The ones that really cannot drive should not be on the road. And if they were given a license because they did not have a driver's license test, but was given a license, they don't need to be driving. They should be immediately pulling back into the RMV, if that's what they call it there, Registry of Motor Vehicles, or depending on where you live, the DMV, but wherever you may reside at, they should be pulling back in there in the RMV and take that test. And take that test. Now, when I say wherever you may reside at, it depends on what is the name of your motor vehicle registry. So that's what I meant by that. But if you are in the Massachusetts area and you have got a license without completing the road test, please get off of the road and go to the nearest RMV and let them know they will not recharge you to take your test and get your test done so that you can be official. Because right now, you are not official out here on the road driving in Massachusetts, and you did not take the road test. And for the ones that cannot pass that test, guess what's going to happen? Let's keep going on. So the officials at the RMV confirmed the news to the Boston Globe on Wednesday, saying that the situation is currently under investigation. Upon discovering suspicious activity. Now, they discovered some suspicious activity regarding the issuance of road tests in 2020. The Registry of Motor Vehicles launched an investigation and referred the issue to law enforcement. RMV spokesperson Jacqueline Goddard told the Globe the RMV has determined 2,100 drivers were granted licenses without taking a road test. That's a lot of drivers on the road that may not really know how to drive, and they might not be able to pass the actual road test once they are tested on the road. That is a danger to society out here on this road, and it's also putting people at risk on the road. Do you not know how serious that is? And for the people that did not take that road test, don't come here in the state I live in. Stay over there in your state. Don't come over here. We have enough bad drivers as it is. And if you coming over here and you have not taken a road test, woo-wee, you need to stay where you at. You might get caught up over here because they might determine if they run your license that you never had a road test. So you might need to, because your name may be entered into a database. You know, they do use databases and they can find you pretty much. It might take some time, but they can find you. So don't get on the road trying to take long trips. Please don't do that. I don't do it. And for the workers that were terminated, you ought to know better. And what was your motive to not give those driver's tests? What were you doing that for? Why did you skimp out on your job and not do your job? And that is the problem, where you give people jobs, you're gracious to hire them, and they don't do their jobs because you failed to do your job. And so, therefore, this is a danger to society, that you would allow people to get on a road without being able to prove if they are a decent driver. Not everybody is a great driver or excellent driver, but if they can pass the test, they are out. They get their, they pass that road test and they're good to go. You didn't even give those people an opportunity to see if they were good to go. And some of those people out there, and maybe many of those people out there, I'm just saying, might be out there and they really should not be out there on the road. And if they kill someone, that's going to be blood on your hands for giving out license without following processes and procedures for giving these drivers the road test that they require to take before they get out on the actual road. So let's move on. Let's go ahead and talk about it. It says all of the individuals have been contacted. All of the impacted individuals have been contacted and will be required to take and pass a road test within 10 days. You see what I'm saying? So get off the road and go get your test. Because it says the RMV has terminated 4 employees involved in this matter and will continue to work with law enforcement on their ongoing investigation. In 2020, investigation started after an RMV supervisor reported suspicious activity, a source told the Globe. For the supervisor, I'm glad that you reported it. You are doing your job to report suspicious activity, because your job could have been on the line also, because you are the supervisor, and it is your responsibility to make sure that the work is getting done. And if it's not getting done properly, they need to be held accountable. Now, I don't know how much power that they give you to do that. So maybe you found out about it, you had to report it. Of course, you need to report it, but because sometimes you can actually, you have a little more power to do what you need to do. But obviously, this is something that definitely needs to be reported, even if you still had the authority, to sit them down and discipline them, or something like that. And then again, this is something that was probably more than above your head to where you needed to report it, because this is definitely, putting other drivers at risk that have passed their road test. And it's a danger to society to have people on the road, because these people may not even be on the road, and they could have a bad accident and kill people, or, have just a pile up because, they just didn't know what to do. They didn't know how to react to certain things. Just a lot going on, and you know how that goes, and not knowing how to maneuver your car in a tight situation, or at the last minute, and they're out here driving and they have not passed no road test. And so the RMV later determined that since around April of 2018, a total of about 2,100 drivers were giving passing marks by 2 test instructors at the Brockton Customer Service Center for road tests they never actually completed. Wow, I don't know what that was all about with you 2 instructors, but you should never be an instructor again doing stuff like that. So both instructors, who were not named, and 2 service center employees were fired in connection to the scheme, the Globe reported. So guess what? Maybe they were being paid off, because it says it was a scheme, so maybe they were being paid off. People act like they're hurting so desperate for money that they'll do anything for money. But again, when you're desperate, you have got to pray. If you are a praying person, if you believe in God, you have got to pray. All this, scheming and getting money, which probably is not even a whole bunch of money to pay more than one bill. It might not even be enough money to pay your rent. It might be just enough money for you to go out and buy lunch, if that, and not even a good meal, because what's that bump? What's that? Someplace, I can't think of it right now. Some shrimp place, Bubba Gump Shrimp. I don't know. I could be wrong. I stand corrected if I am wrong. But what I'm saying is, some of these people that are in these schemes, are you really getting that much money out of it that you got to put other people's lives at risk? Not just your life and livelihood, but other people's lives at risk, because you are not doing what's right when it comes to your job. Why would you sit here and complete paperwork Do you not know that that paperwork can be used as a legal document and you're completing paperwork fraudulently to get people to say that they passed tests that you never gave them a road test? And then again, you might already knew that they could not drive, but it was something about them. Maybe you knew them, maybe they were family members, and it doesn't say that in the article. And just maybe they paid you off. A scheme. Because when I think of a scheme, I think of money. I think people, when I think of a scheme, I think there's some money going on, changing hands somewhere. Do you think that there was some money going on? Do they have some cameras out there where they can look and see if some money was exchanging hands and stuff? And these two employees was obviously involved in it too, because it was two instructors and two service center employees that were involved in it. And now they have no job at all. Isn't that something? No job whatsoever. So maybe you were getting paid more. Maybe that scheme worked out for you at that time. But now it's not, it wasn't a long term, a long term opportunity. See, this is another thing that I always say. When you're doing wrong, and you know you're doing wrong, your success will be short term. So if you was being successful at getting paid in this scheme, but guess what? It was a scheme. And mostly when we think of scheme, we think of bad. We don't think of good. There's no good schemes and bad. No good schemes or bad schemes. Because if it's a scheme, it's a scheme, and it's usually bad, right? There's not no such thing as, oh, that was a good scheme. No, a scheme is a scheme that is considered usually bad. And so you had short term, probably success or luck in getting paid from these people in this scheme, and now you are out of work, which you had steady income coming in. Now, I don't know how much they pay in Massachusetts, because some places don't pay that much when you work for the DMV. And it's a lot of dealing with, angry, disgruntled customers that come in there, trying to get away without paying certain fees. It is a lot that goes on in these DMVs. Believe it or not, I know people that have worked there and have told me stories, and they worked there and they, had to deal with the customer service, the long lines, and by the time the person gets to the counter, they're tired, they're mad, they're angry, and just a lot of different things. People are standing in long lines. Then they started making up stories about the system went down when in fact they just was overwhelmed because they saw so many people waiting to be serviced. A lot of times people don't schedule appointments, and the ones that do get their appointment called, and then people are angry because it goes back and forth. And so anyway, officials said the road test will be free of charge for those affected. So that's good news. Like I said earlier, it's good news that you will be able to go take your test free of charge for the ones that were affected. And those who failed their tests, now listen, those who failed their test will be reissued a learner's permit and be offered a Massachusetts ID card free of charge. Now, I'm not laughing at those folks. Everybody's not a good driver. But what I am saying, you will not be able to be on the road driving. And that's good that they are taking a stand, because it says that if you fail your test, it don't matter if you was out there driving for a while. It don't matter if you've been driving for a few years until they, did this investigation and figured out 2,100 drivers were not given a road test. And you might have even got some practice out there. So you should be able to pass your test if you've been driving for, depending on how long you went, it's been since you've been driving without a road test. You should be a good driver by now, decent enough to pass the road test. So if you can't pass it, you shouldn't have never been out on the road anyway. And I'm just keeping it real, because they go back, it says since April of 2000, around April of 2018, that this has been going on. So by now, if you've been out there driving regularly and you haven't had any accidents, and you've been going back and forth to work and all over the place or wherever you've been, you should be able to pass your road test. If you've been practicing and parallel parking and, making U-turns and knowing how to back out and, back out and, you know, doing all those things, and what it takes to be a driver on the road, and being able to stop suddenly, and being able to use your turn signals to change lanes, set your mirrors before you pull off, get everything straight, together, your seatbelt on, knowing where the things are in your car. If you've been doing all that and doing that, you should be able to pass. But if you cannot pass this test after, depending on how long you've been driving without a road test, you don't need to be out on the road. And that's the danger to society. And you're putting other good drivers that have went through the process and done it the right way, you are putting them at risk. And guess what? Let me read that again. Those who failed their test will be reissued a learner's permit and be offered a Massachusetts ID card free of charge. So you will get a free of Massachusetts ID card free of charge. But you know what? I would be embarrassed to fail my test after I was, on the road, and I was able to get away because they allowed it, the two instructors and the two service center employees. I would be embarrassed if I failed my driver's test, knowing that I've been driving without a road test for that long, and then I go in and have to get a road test, and they tell me that I didn't pass my road test, and they're going to give me a learner's permit and a Massachusetts ID card. I would be very upset, but it wouldn't be nobody to blame but the folks that's been terminated. And then I would be thinking, wasn't I supposed to have a road test? And then if I participated in, you know, paying them off in that scheme, then I can't be mad at nobody but myself, right? Um, Man, this is really a trip to hear this. There's so much stuff going on in the world. I tell you, just do the right thing, man. I would be upset though if I said, man, I got away with this and now I can't drive. You should never be driving. You should not be on the road because obviously you might have taken the test before and failed it and just can't pass it. Who knows what's going on in the minds of these people? They got a lot of schemes out here. The pyramid scheme, you know, there was something going on when the pandemic first hit where people were collecting money, and as you bring people in, you move up and you're supposed to get money off of it. There was a lot of stuff like that going on, and there were some people that told me that that was not a pyramid scheme, that was not illegal, and people did get money, and then they got paid off. And then there are some I read out of it was one of the states, I don't recall which state it was. I think it was it Minnesota, that they actually were prosecuting people because people had come forward and said that they had lost money in that type of scheme where you put in so much money, $100, maybe 500 or whatever you put in, and then you're supposed to come back and get a return on it when you bring other people in. And it's called the flower or whatever. You might know what I'm talking about. But anyway, this is really something right here. But they did fire the workers, but man, I tell you. But anyway, leave your comments below. What do you think about this? And if you live in Massachusetts, you might be able to shed some light on this article that I'm presenting to you. But if you live in Massachusetts, beware. There's 2,100 drivers out there on the road that did not have a road test. So beware, be cautious, be alert, and do not be texting and driving, and be safe out there. God bless you all on the day. Oh, and don't forget to like the video, share the video, and if you're not a subscriber, subscribe to the channel. God bless you.